We're diving into some really fascinating stuff today. We're going way back to the early days of the Latter-day Saint movement. Specifically, we're going to be looking at some of the earliest revelations.
It's exciting territory, right?
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, you mentioned you're interested in Cowdery's attempts to translate ancient records.
Exactly, and how he sought divine guidance in that process.
And particularly around, 1829, right?
Yeah, those early years were so pivotal, so much unfolding.
We've got two specific revelations from that period. Really offer a glimpse into the incredible experiences he had and the challenges, too, of course.
Absolutely. These revelations really highlight the interplay of, well, on the one hand, human desire, and on the other, divine will.
I like that.
We'll see how Cowdery's eagerness to tap into those spiritual gifts led to some amazing insights, but also some unexpected obstacles along the way.
Right, those bumps in the road.
Exactly.
So let's jump right in. Starting with the Sixth Commandment revelation, this is from 1829. Just picture this. The energy surrounding the Book of Mormon translation is, palpable.
Oh, I bet.
Cowdery is working so closely with Joseph Smith, and he's on fire. He has this burning desire to experience those same divine powers of revelation and translation, for himself.
Yeah, you can practically feel that longing, in his plea to the Lord when he asks, will these gifts be granted to me? And the answer is amazing.
It's a powerful yes, but it comes with a really important caveat.
Right, there's a condition there.
So the Lord responds with this incredible certainty. As surely as the Lord liveth, which is your God and your Redeemer, even so surely shall you receive a knowledge of whatsoever things you shall ask in an honest heart, believing that you shall receive.
Wow. What power, right?
Just that statement alone. What jumps out at you there?
The sheer conviction of it. It's undeniable. But I think the key phrase here is an honest heart believing.
Yes.
It implies a level of sincerity, a purity of intention, you know, and this unwavering faith. And those are essential to accessing these gifts.
Right. It really does. It sets the stage for everything that follows. But then the revelation takes this surprising turn. It draws this parallel with Moses parting the Red Sea.
Oh, that's interesting.
It says, behold, this is the spirit by which Moses brought the children of Israel through the Red Sea on dry ground. Why bring up Moses here? We're talking about translating ancient records, not, splitting oceans.
Right. That's such a good point. But it's brilliant, I think.
Okay.
Because by connecting the gift of revelation to that event, the Lord's emphasizing just how powerful this is. It's not just about, receiving information. It's about this force, this power.
Wow.
A force that can literally alter reality.
Just like Moses did. Wow, that puts it into a whole new perspective.
Yeah.
It's not just knowledge. It's about accessing a power that can change the world.
Yeah.
Now, further along in the revelation, there's this reference to the sprout. What in the world could that be?
Ah, yes, the sprout. So that refers to a divining rod, a tool commonly used at the time to find hidden things.
Okay.
So it's fascinating because it grounds this revelation in a very specific historical context. It's speaking to Cowdery in a way that he would have understood.
So it's like the Lord's bridging this gap between everyday tools and these extraordinary divine powers. That's amazing.
Right. But even the use of this physical tool, the sprout, is ultimately attributed to God's power. The Revelation says there is no other power save God that can cause this thing of nature to work in your hands. It's a really important reminder that these gifts, even when they're, facilitated by tools or techniques, they ultimately flow from a divine source.
Right. It all comes back to that honest heart believing. You can't just manipulate your way into getting divine knowledge. You need faith. You need a willingness to be guided. And then there's that warning. Trifle not with these things.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty serious.
It is. This is not, just some abstract theological concept.
Right.
This is a call to approach these gifts with reverence, with respect. It speaks to the potential for every one of us to connect with the divine, but also, the responsibility that comes with it.
So we've got this incredible promise of knowledge and power.
Yes.
But it's clearly not just a free-for-all.
No.
You need the right kind of heart. You need the right kind of faith. But what does that honest heart believing actually look like in practice? What would you say are the key ingredients?
Well, I think sincerity is huge.
All right.
It's about approaching these gifts with pure motives, not seeking personal gain or trying to, manipulate outcomes.
Right.
And humility is crucial too, acknowledging that, we don't have all the answers, being open to guidings that might actually challenge us, challenge our assumptions.
So it's about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose, seeking knowledge, not just for our own sake, but for something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
And being willing to surrender to a wisdom beyond our own understanding.
Exactly. Recognizing that true power comes not from control, but from alignment, from aligning ourselves with divine will, allowing ourselves to be like instruments.
Wow.
In a much grander plan.
That's powerful. So we have this amazing foundation laid out in the Sixth Commandment revelation. But as you mentioned earlier, things don't always go as smoothly as we might hope. Are you ready to explore a time when those challenges really came to the forefront for Oliver Cowdery?
Absolutely. Let's do it. The Eighth Commandment Revelation gives us, it gives us a look at a very different side of this journey. It's a story of setbacks and frustrations, but ultimately some really valuable lessons learned.
Oh, I can't wait to get into that.
Me too. This next revelation, the one sometimes called the Eighth Commandment, it takes place when Cowdery's kind of hitting a wall with his translation efforts. Yeah. He's feeling blocked, frustrated, and he really wants to understand why. Why isn't this working?
Yeah, it's like you're so close to something you've been striving for, and then boom, the door slams shut.
Exactly.
You can feel that urgency in his plea to the Lord. Why can't I translate? And the answer, it reveals something really interesting.
Oh, yeah.
About how this divine revelation thing actually works.
I'm intrigued.
So it seems like Cowdery's struggles, they stem from a shift in focus.
Okay.
At this point, he had paused his own translating to act as scribe for Joseph Smith.
Ah, interesting. So he's supporting the work, but maybe?
Yeah, and it seemed supportive, right?
Yeah.
But it disrupted the flow of inspiration he needed for translation.
Huh. So it's like he needed to be completely immersed.
Yes.
Mind, body, spirit, for it to work. Like learning a new language, you can't just dabble.
Exactly. You got to go all in. And the Lord tells him, "Behold, I say unto you, my son, that because you did not translate according to that which you desired of me, and did commence again to write for my servant Joseph, even so I would know you, that you should continue until you have finished this record which I have entrusted unto you." So much to unpack there.
Right. It's a lesson in patience, for sure. Staying the course. It's like the Lord saying, focus on what's right in front of you, and more will come in time.
Yeah, that resonates. I get so caught up in wanting to jump ahead sometimes. And I miss those lessons, the growth that comes from just being in the moment.
It's so easy to do that.
But it's not just about patience, though, is it?
No, there's more to it. The Lord points out a flaw in Cowdery's approach. Right from the beginning, he says Cowdery's mindset wasn't quite right. He hadn't fully pondered the scriptures, hadn't sought that confirmation through prayer, hadn't prepared himself spiritually.
He was skipping steps, thinking he could just will it to happen.
Exactly. And this leads to one of the most powerful teachings in this revelation, the idea of a burning in the bosom as confirmation of truth.
It's such a vivid image, that feeling of just absolute certainty.
It is, and it speaks to this deep, personal, intuitive knowing, something that goes way beyond just, intellectual understanding.
Like a light bulb going off inside you.
Yeah.
But how does that contrast with what Cowdery was experiencing? What was he feeling instead?
Yeah. The Lord draws this really stark contrast between that burning in the bosom and what he calls a stupor of thought. This comes with the wrong paths. He says, "If it be not right, you shall have no such feelings, but you shall have a stupor of thought that shall cause you to forget the thing which is wrong." It's like a fog, a lack of clarity.
Oh, like when you're trying to solve a puzzle and the pieces just don't fit. You know something's off, but...
Yes, exactly like that. But how do we develop that ability to discern between the two? The burning confirmation and that fog.
That's a great question. It gets to the heart of spiritual discernment, doesn't it?
It does. It's about cultivating this sensitivity to our inner voice, learning to really distinguish between our ego's desires and the promptings of our soul.
It's like we need a new set of senses, a spiritual radar, to pick up on those signals.
That's a great way to put it. And like any skill, it takes practice.
Right. So essentially, we've gone from this incredible promise in the Sixth Commandment
Yeah.
to a much deeper understanding of the process and the potential pitfalls in the Eighth Commandment.
It's a fascinating journey, isn't it? And so relevant to all of us, no matter what our beliefs are. We all face challenges in discerning truth and making those decisions that are truly for our highest good.
Absolutely. I'm curious, what are some specific practices, tools that could help us cultivate that discernment, that connection to our inner guidance? What resonates with you? For me, I find it spending time in nature, just disconnecting, from all the noise and just being present.
Oh, I love that.
It helps me clear my head and access that deeper intuition. But what about you? What tools or practices have you found helpful?
Well, that's a wonderful practice. For me, meditation has been really transformative.
Yeah.
Just taking even a few minutes each day to quiet the mind, connect with that stillness. And it just allows for this deeper clarity to kind of emerge.
It's like you're tuning into a different frequency, one that's not so cluttered.
Exactly. It's less cluttered with all the chatter of everyday thoughts.
Right.
But it's not always easy, is it?
No, it's definitely a practice, and some days are harder than others, for sure.
Life gets in the way.
Yeah, it does. But I think consistency is really key, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, making that commitment to connect with ourselves, to cultivate that stillness, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be anything complicated. It could be focusing on the breath, or listening to calming music, or even, spending time in nature, as you mentioned.
And it's not about achieving some perfect state of, enlightenment or anything.
No, not at all.
It's about showing up, being present, and being open to whatever comes up.
That's it. And sometimes those insights, they might not be what we expect.
That's true. They might challenge us, push us out of our comfort zones a bit.
Absolutely.
As part of what makes it so beautiful, though, it's about letting go of control a little bit, surrendering to a wisdom that's bigger than our own understanding. And just like Oliver Cowdery encountered those moments of, profound revelation, but also those frustrating setbacks, our own paths, they're going to have twists and turns too.
It's like we're all on this grand adventure, and there's no one right way to do it. But having those tools, those principles,
yes,
they can make it so much richer.
Absolutely. It reminds me of that quote from Einstein. The most beautiful experience we can have is the mysterious. It is the fundamental emotion that stands at the cradle of true art and true science. Embracing that mystery, that not knowing, it can open us up to so much more.
It brings us back to that honest heart believing, doesn't it?
It does.
It's not about blind faith. It's about that curiosity, that willingness to be surprised, to be led in directions we might not have even imagined.
Exactly. And I think that's where the real magic is, when we surrender to the unknown, when we allow ourselves to be guided by something bigger than ourselves. That's when we tap into that limitless potential.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Oliver Cowdery's early revelations, I want to leave our listeners with this. What if we started viewing our own lives as a series of revelations just waiting to be uncovered?
Ooh, I love that.
What if we approached every experience, every challenge as a chance to learn, to grow, to deepen that connection with our own inner wisdom and the divine?
What a beautiful invitation. Imagine the world we could create if we all embraced that level of curiosity, that openness, that reverence for the mysteries around us.
It's a powerful thought. And thank you for joining me on this incredible journey. It's been a privilege to explore these teachings with you.
The pleasure was all mine, truly. May we all continue to cultivate that honest heart believing as we walk our own paths.
Beautifully said. And to our listeners, thank you for diving deep with us. Until next time, keep seeking, keep exploring, and keep that flame of curiosity burning bright.